Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Inclusive Recruitment Strategies for Today's Employer. My name is Ashley Hammond. I'm the National Trainer at CASE, and I have the honor of being your moderator for today. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we're on today. I do this to reaffirm my commitment and responsibility to improving relationships between nations and to increasing my own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast, I acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people who call this land home. The acknowledgement of this land is a declaration of our collective responsibility to this place and its people's histories, rights, and presence, and to the ongoing work of reconciliation. This event is hosted by CASE, the Canadian Association for Supported Employment. CASE is a national network of service providers, employers, and community allies committed to increasing employment inclusion for Canadians who experience disability. We believe that opportunities to collaborate, innovate, and learn alongside each other are important in this endeavor. And I invite you to visit the CASE website or to reach out to any of the CASE staff to learn more about our programs, initiatives, and offerings. A few housekeeping items before we begin. You will notice that your microphone has been turned off to allow for the best sound quality of all participants. Please do feel welcome to ask questions at any point during the presentation. I encourage you to ask questions through the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. We will cover them during the Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. Please note that we are recording this webinar. You will receive an email when it becomes available. A version of the recording with French captioning will be shared at a later date. I'd also like to take a moment to highlight our accessibility features for today. Closed captioning is available in English and automated French. I thank you to Sylvia, who will be providing closed captioning in English. To access closed captioning in English, please click on the Show Captions button at the bottom of your screen. You can access French closed captioning by clicking on the link that will shortly be provided in the chat box. I'd also like to thank Tyler and Liz, who will be providing ASL interpretation for us today. Our technical support team will ensure that they are pinned alongside all speakers. We do recommend that you ensure your view settings are set to gallery view. You can adjust your view settings by selecting the view icon located at the top right-hand corner of your screen. If you run into any technical difficulties for today, please reach out to our technical support, Lucas Burton, through the chat box feature. And with that, I would like to introduce today's hosts, Tanya Seabrook and Dave Dopecker. Tanya is the Employer Engagement Specialist with the Innovation Lab at CASE. She has over 25 years of experience working with job seekers, service providers, and employers. Dave is an owner-operator of Sobeys and Homebolt and has more than 40 years of retail experience. And Dave is also a previous recipient of the CASE Mark Wafer Award for Business Excellence. Over to you, Tanya.
Thanks so much, Ashley. We're thrilled to have all of you join us today to explore promising practices in inclusive recruitment. As you may already know, within the Canadian labor market, we are witnessing rapid transformations and growth in various sectors. These developments have led to an increase in our need for skilled workers. In this light, navigating worker shortage and improving employee retention is a concern for many employers. As a solution, considering inclusive recruitment and retention strategies can allow you to tap into diverse labor pools and broaden the scope and impact of your business. During our time together today, we will explore the value of inclusive organizational practices around recruitment. We will explore the benefits of workforce diversity, what we refer to as the inclusion advantage. To reap these benefits, we will discuss some strategies that you can use to attract more talent and improve inclusion and accessibility at your organization. Dave and I will share some promising practices around inclusive job postings, hiring statements, and interview practices. I will also invite Dave to share his experiences and insights around all three of these strategies and how they benefit a business. Last but not least, we will review some additional complementary resources that can help your organization in its inclusion journey. At the end, we will have a Q&A session to provide space for you to ask your questions. Let's get started. Research is clear on the fact that diversity and inclusion provide businesses with a greater competitive edge by enhancing operations, services, and employee retention. Diverse businesses are also more innovative and have better business impact. When employees who hold different identities and perspectives share their opinions, experiences, and ideas, it creates a dynamic workplace culture led by creativity. A diverse workforce helps organizations to better respond to the needs of their market and create innovative solutions. Inclusive businesses that authentically reflect the communities they serve also attract more customers. In fact, according to a consumer survey by DuPont, 92% of respondents favored businesses that hired persons experiencing disability rather than those that did not. Inclusion also improves the sense of belonging in a workplace. When employees feel valued and respected, they're more likely to be satisfied with their jobs and remain with the company long term. This ultimately increases an organization's retention rates and reduces turnover and training costs. Inclusive organizations also experience enhanced accessibility and safety within the workplace. For example, many studies like the DuPont study demonstrate how workplaces that hire persons experiencing disability witness an increase in on-the-job safety and a decrease in workplace incidents. As you can tell, diversity and inclusion can offer a substantial return on investment for your business. To achieve this level of impact, it is clear that organizations need to plan how to make their workplaces more inclusive because diversity and its advantages depend on the level of inclusion within your workplace. In this light, a great place to start is to prioritize diversity and inclusion within hiring. To achieve this, you may consider partnering with your local supported employment professionals who can help you connect with talented, pre-screened candidates. Collaborating with employment professionals can also save hiring managers a lot of time during recruitment. It can improve your chances of hiring skilled employees while also helping you improve your business impact and advance workplace inclusion. Dave, would you like to share some of your thoughts and insights about how businesses benefit from diversity and inclusion?
Thanks, Tanya. Our Sobeys store is located in Humboldt. It's a rural community in central Saskatchewan. It's about 6,000 people, and we have a very strong and active supported employment service in our town called Humboldt District Community Services. We work closely with them, and we built a very strong relationship on trust. We regularly have several people on staff who identify and as experiencing disability. Some are new hires, We've got some with 4 to 6 years experience, and some with even over 10 years. Being inclusive has helped our business in a few ways. Is that it has added valuable and reliable people to our team, some of which, as I've said, have been with us over 10 years. And I get customers on a regular basis recognizing or thanking me for our inclusive culture. This has helped our image in the community and helped our sales and really strengthen our customer loyalty as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your experience about that, Dave. In our next few slides, Dave and I will share 3 evidence-based inclusive recruitment strategies that you can consider implementing at your own organizations. To attract more talent, we need to start by exploring how we attract talent. Let's consider the starting point of the recruitment process, which is job posting. Think of the job posting as a message you are communicating to potential candidates. It not only conveys what the job is, but also what your company's values and approach are. It is critical to ensure that the job posting is written in inclusive language. Ensure that the posting is worded in a way that won't result in people feeling uncomfortable or excluded from applying because they experience disability. Inclusive job postings focus on a list of qualifications related to the essential duties or functions, rather than an extensive wish list that deters many candidates from applying. For example, some jobs may list that an applicant needs to be able to lift a certain amount of weight to be eligible for the position, despite this not being relevant to the role. It is important to omit any unessential requirements to reach a wider and more diverse applicant base. Inclusive job postings are also concise and avoid the use of industry-specific jargon. Ensure that the posting is written in plain language whenever possible. Writing job postings in plain language can help ensure that the information provided is accessible and clear. Another promising practice is to offer flexible working arrangements, such as flexible hours, work from home, or hybrid options if the role allows it. Flexible work arrangements improve accessibility and can encourage more applicants to apply for the role, thus increasing your chances of finding the right fit. It is crucial to also provide candidates with the option to ask questions or request accommodations. I want to briefly touch on the term accommodation. As you may already know, accommodation is one of those terms that gets a bad reputation. However, I assure you it's nothing to be scared of. Oftentimes, accommodations are as simple as providing a scent-free or a noise-free environment during an interview. In fact, many of you may already be providing various types of support and adjustments for your employees without even realizing it. Accommodations are a natural part of working together and creating an inclusive environment for everyone. It can improve both the hiring and retention of skilled employees at your organization. In this light, ensure you provide an email address and phone number at the end of your job posting that candidates can use to reach out to ask questions or request accommodations if needed. And last but not least, you may also reconsider how you accept applications. Many application processes tend to be online only. It's important to keep in mind that not everyone has access to the internet or can easily navigate the online application systems you're using. Some platforms might not be compatible with assisted technology, such as screen readers, which can pose another barrier for applicants. Additionally, different algorithms may exclude certain applications from even being considered. In this light, it is more inclusive to offer multiple means of application to ensure that all talented candidates can apply for the role. If possible, consider accepting resumes in person and through the mail. Dave, would you like to share your thoughts as an employer on the value of inclusive job postings?
Depending on the job opening that we have, we will talk to our community partners, HDCS, and see if they have any clients with skills that fit our needs. This has allowed us to fill a lot of positions without even posting an ad.
That's great, that relationship that you've built. Thanks so much for sharing that information, Dave. Inclusive hiring statements. To make your job posting more inviting, you may also consider highlighting your commitment to diverse and inclusive hiring by adding a statement. Including inclusive hiring statements in your job postings or other communications can help solidify and represent your values as an inclusive employer. For example, a simple statement might be, "Our company embraces diversity, equity, and inclusion. We welcome candidates who hold diverse backgrounds, perspectives, and skills. Let us know if you require accommodations or support at any stage of our hiring process." It's important to reflect on your commitment to inclusion and personalize your hiring statement to be authentic to your business. Stating your values and approach around inclusion will ensure that candidates who hold multiple identities in terms of disability, race, gender, etc., can identify with your business. This can help you receive more applications from talented individuals, improving your chances of finding the right match for the role. Dave, would you like to share your views on inclusive hiring statements and their value in the recruitment process?
So for our job postings, we use a standard inclusive statement. The majority of our hires do come through, or inclusive hires come through HDCS, but because of our reputation, we do get a lot of people coming in and asking directly. Usually I'll talk to them just at the front of the store. We get parents that will come in and, they have a child that has experiencing disability and was wondering if we would, be able to fit them into our team. So just a few different ways that we look at that.
That's wonderful. The word is out in the community that you're an inclusive employer, and that's brilliant. Now that we have covered some of the aspects of inclusive job postings, let's briefly explore the next point of connection with applicants, which is the interview. Inclusive interviewing involves minimizing barriers and bias. During interview and selection, we want to be mindful and avoid making assumptions about a candidate based on their address, pronouns, name, education, or their communication style. For example, we know that individuals express themselves in many different ways through body language and nonverbal communication. A candidate may avoid making eye contact or make hand gestures while speaking. This can be due to their preferences, cultural practices, or lived experiences. We want to avoid making assumptions about these actions and instead actively listen to the information that the candidate is sharing. As much as we may try to avoid it, unconscious bias can still influence hiring decisions. Unconscious bias or implicit bias refers to internalized stereotypes that affect our perceptions, actions, and decisions. To avoid bias in decision-making, you may want to invite a co-interviewer with a cross-cultural understanding and perspective different than yours. Inclusive interviewing also involves prioritizing accessibility. It is important to ensure that the interviews are held in an accessible space, whether virtual or in person. Invite candidates to share any accommodation requests or other considerations when you email them to schedule an interview. Changes may need to be made to the interview location, format, material, etc. As part of this practice, we want to ensure that all requests from applicants are treated confidentially and respectfully. You may also consider different methods of facilitating pre-screens. A common practice is to pre-screen via telephone conversation. However, as we know, people may prefer to communicate in different ways. In this light, a more inclusive approach to pre-screening would be to confirm with the individual what would be the best pre-screening method for them. Another aspect to consider is the interview questions. Ensure that you have a list of questions written in plain and inclusive language, and that the set of questions is the same for each candidate. Use a scoring system to rate their responses for questions accordingly. Remember that inclusive interviews focus on questions about how the applicant will apply their skills to perform specific tasks, as opposed to asking whether they can do the job. And last but not least, you may also consider non-traditional approaches to interviewing, such as holding a working interview. Working interviews allow applicants to demonstrate their skills by inviting them to complete a specific job task. This can be a great way to learn about the candidate's skills and talents in action. Incorporating these considerations and strategies can create an inclusive and accessible space for interviewees. Providing a space where people can be comfortable and show up at their best also improves your chances of hiring the right candidate for the right job. Dave, would you like to share how you and your team at Sobeys approach interviewing to make the process more inclusive and inviting to candidates?
Yes, thank you, Tanya. Many of our job applicants drop their resume off at our customer service at the front of the store. And when available, I try to go have a quick chat with them. It allows me to get a first impression and assess some of their skills. During the interview process with a person who identifies as experiencing disability, I try to make it a conversation and want them to be comfortable and see if we can find the right fit for them in our business. We also tried something new with one of our applicants recently. We invited her to participate in an internship for 8 weeks. She worked for 1 to 2 weeks in each of the departments in the store to find the best fit for her and our business. In this instance, it worked very well. She works in the bakery. We also recently added a 3-hour weekly shift where in the grocery department where she goes and date checks product and just make sure the rotation is there. She does an excellent job of that, and it provides her with some variety in her week.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dave. Now we're going to talk about employer resources. I would like to briefly share some resources that may be of interest to you in your inclusion journey as an employer. ACE offers several complementary resources for employers, which can support you to continue exploring your organization's commitment and strategy around diversity and inclusion. The first is the Human Resource Toolkit for Employers, available on our CASE website. Ashley will also share the link in the chat box shortly. The CASE Toolkit has been designed in collaboration with the supported employment community to assist small and medium-sized businesses to become familiar with inclusive policies and procedures. We encourage you to review the toolkit and complete the self-assessment. This information can help you understand your business's current strengths and needs and provide strategies for successful recruitment, inclusion, and retention of employees who are experiencing disability. CASE also offers complimentary courses for employers. These offerings can be completed on your own time, usually within 2 hours. Two courses that may be of interest to you are Accessible Communications and Guiding Principles for a Great Fit. Ashley will also share the links to these complimentary courses in the chat. You may also be interested in signing up for CASE's employer newsletter. This is sent out monthly and is your one-stop destination for news on upcoming employer events, such as this national webinar series. You can subscribe to the newsletter on our website. There are also two CASE initiatives that can also support your inclusion journey. The first is CASE's Innovation Lab. The Innovation Lab collaborates with partners across Canada to support innovative projects that help businesses remove barriers to employment. Some of Innovation Lab's partner projects include technology solutions, onboarding services and tools, as well as recruitment and retention tools for employers. You can learn more about the exciting partner projects on CASE website. Ashley will also share this link in the chat. Our other CASE initiative is Mentorability Canada. Mentorability Canada is a national initiative that, in collaboration with community partners across Canada, supports unique and short-term mentoring opportunities for persons experiencing disability. The initiative facilitates in-person and virtual mentoring experiences, networking, and learning events, and social media campaigns to support career development and advancing inclusion in the workforce. You can also learn more about Mentorability on CASE website. And last but not least, you may also consider connecting with your local supported employment professionals for resources and support. They can offer talent matching and recruitment support, ensuring that you find the right candidate for the job. They can provide valuable support during the hiring process and employment, as well as providing insight on inclusive and accessible organizational practices. In most cases, these services are available at no cost. There are more than 100 supported employment service providers across Canada that are members of CASE, Canadian Association for Supported Employment. Please contact us at any time for more information or to connect with the local service provider in your area. Ashley will be sharing a contact email in the chat. Dave, would you like to share some of the resources and tools that have been helpful for your business in advancing equity and inclusion?
Yes, thank you very much, Tanya. I've been an inclusive employer for over 30 years, but working with our local HDCS has allowed us to accelerate it to the point where we continuously have diverse and talented employees on staff. HDCS feels comfortable when we hire one of their clients that we will provide a safe environment where they can learn and grow. My department managers are very important in our inclusive hiring practices as well. They are the ones that do the training and work with the staff day to day. In our case, our community partner has elevated our inclusive hiring to another level. A number of employees that were hired part-time now have full-time status. Numerous employees have used our business as a way to improve some of their job skills and springboard into other sectors as well.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Dave, for sharing your experiences. Thanks again for joining us today. This wraps up our presentation. I'm now going to hand over the virtual microphone back to Ashley so that she can moderate our question and answer session. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you so much to Tanya and Dave. Just a big celebration for both of them joining today and sharing some wonderful information with today's attendees. We have lots of great questions coming in already. I'll start just by the first one I see here on my screen. So Ola is asking us a question for Dave about internships. What are in the process of discussion the possibility of internships with one of the retail stores? We are a supported employment agency located in Winnipeg. And right now we face complication. The store asked if we could provide a work insurance for our job seekers, as the store wouldn't be able to do so prior to hiring. Do you have any experience with something similar to that, or are you requesting insurance for your internships at the workplace?
It really, I think, depends on the location. I'm a franchisee in Humboldt, so sometimes on a paid internship with HDCS, they would cover the insurance, but more often than not, we haven't done a lot of internships. We've done some. Usually, because we have a lot of part-time positions, we're able to bring people on board and slowly work them in. So, if you're looking at somewhere in Winnipeg in the grocery industry with either a Sobeys or Safeway, I would maybe reach out individually to the local store manager or owner and just contact them and see how they'd like to approach it, or if they're open to doing that.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dave. I have another question for Dave and Tanya. So this is for both of you. If you could share just one piece of advice to, say, a new employer who might just be beginning to develop their inclusive recruitment strategies at the workplace, what might that be? If you could give them a little bit of advice.
For me, I know because I have a lot of my, like I said, managers work day to day with with most of the employees. I really try to reach out to the managers and just explain to them that, when we're bringing somebody on board, think about them as a person and, what they are. And if that was, again, I'm getting a little older, if that was your daughter or son in the workplace, how would you want them to be treated? How would you like them to be trained and stuff? And that to me is just treating the people like people. Would be the number one thing that, I try to really impress upon my staff, and that when we're at the Humboldt Sobeys.
Great insights there, Dave. Thanks so much. Tanya, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, that's awesome insight, Dave. I was also going to kind of say the same thing. Don't be afraid and really involve your team. Make it a team effort all the way from the owner to the managers to all of the staff. Staff education is a very important piece of the puzzle, and helping people recognize everybody's innate skills and abilities that they bring and how they make the team stronger. I really recommend focusing on how you can show your other staff how they make the team stronger.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Another question for Dave. Do you have numerical stats on the positive impacts from your inclusive recruitment practices? Is that something you track?
It's hard. Like, if you mean how it's affected my business as far as sales and those things, that is a little difficult. I do know that in our district, our store has been trending quite a bit above what the other stores are at. And I can't really attribute it to, it's hard to attribute to know what to attribute it to, but I think that's definitely part of it. There's really not much else going on in our community that would say that. I know I was fortunate enough to be asked by SARC last year to do supported employment commercial. And I know I get a lot of people coming in and talking to me about that. And that has just boosted our perception in the community immensely. So you can't really find hard, fast numbers, but I would definitely attribute a lot of it, the customer loyalty and that, to our inclusive hiring practices.
Absolutely. You're authentically representing, your workplace is authentically representing the community that you serve, right? As well in the workplace through the staff as well. So you'll certainly attract new consumer bases that way. Thanks, Dave.
Yes. Yeah.
And I would say that DuPont study backs it up exactly, Dave, what you're saying with that commercial made it more visible, and people want to shop where they're reflected and where they see diversity and inclusion.
Absolutely. Thank you. Dave, do you share your success with other franchise stores across Canada?
I have a little bit. When we get together at meetings and stuff, usually it's more one-on-one. Last year, we actually, because of our inclusive practices and partially because of the commercial we did with SARC, our store with 3 stores in Manitoba and Saskatchewan was a recipient of the Sobeys Retail Impact Award. So that there is some sharing there, but again, especially with majority of the stores being franchise, it really relies on the franchise owner to, the culture they want to create in their store and how they want their store to be perceived.
Thanks, Dave. Tatiana is asking if there's access to the study that Tanya is mentioning, the DuPont study. Yes, there is. I believe we can certainly share the reference material with you after. If you're interested, you can send us an email at info@supportedemployment.ca, and we'll be sure to share that reference for you after the webinar today. Great question. Let's see. Lots of questions coming in, which is lovely to see. Another question for Dave. What are some ways that you kind of work towards making your job postings more inclusive for broader audiences?
Our job postings are fairly generic. I do have just kind of a generic, we're an inclusive employer, like on the bottom of the posting. But again, because we're in a small community, and surrounding area is very close knit and stuff. I think we just really have that reputation, and that, well, it seems like once you have that going for you, it almost like you don't have to advertise for it. It just really builds itself. So I don't really step out when it comes to job postings necessarily. And as I said, a lot of the inclusive hires are coming through HDCS too, because I know we talk, every 2 weeks probably minimum, just about what she's got new clients and where they are in their hiring stage, and she puts them through kind of a rigorous training too before she kind of puts them out in the workforce. So ours is almost more just word of mouth.
Thanks, Dave. Let's see here. So this might be a question for Tanya, but Dave, you're welcome to answer as well. How might I be able to find a service provider in my community?
I would definitely say reach out to us at that info@supportedemployment.ca link that Ashley shared, and that'll be connected to me. And I would love to have a conversation with you, find out where you're located, what your needs are, and then help you match to the supported employment service provider in your area that can best fit the needs that you're looking for.
Thanks,
Tanya. So yeah, email me. I'd love to chat.
Another question. Again, Dave, you're welcome to chime in with any thoughts there. What support systems or resources are in place to assist diverse candidates during the recruitment process?
Like for us, again, we've got a really strong community partner in HDCS. It's been extremely beneficial. So she's our local representative of HDCS. We're continually going back and forth. So we have, I don't know, it's maybe a bit unique, but we're a smaller community. So I would assume a lot of communities in the, the 5,000 to 10,000 population probably have somebody, and then you can, again, in a smaller community, it's I think a little easier to build that relationship and really to work with that partner. So I know the lady I work with, we get along really well. And, we've been working together for at least 10 years now. So the relationship builds over time, just like anything. So I think for us, that's kind of the biggest thing, is just a community partner.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Can I add a little bit, Ashley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also think this is where the employment service providers in your area, if you connect with them, they can help greatly on this. Oftentimes they can help with training that's needed, on the job coaching, whether that be in person or off site or through some of the new tools that are being developed, such as innovation labs, partner projects. I'm going to plug that. Yeah, so connecting with those service providers, and then oftentimes they have access to funding that may be available as well. So I would suggest that.
Thank you both so much. So we'll get lots of great questions coming in here. Abby's asking us, how can an employer measure DEI efforts on workforce representation? Any thoughts there from either of you?
That's
Go
a
ahead,
really
Tanya.
trick. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, go
That's
ahead.
a tricky one because it comes into the disclosure, and oftentimes people experiencing disability is such a range. So they may be visible, they may be invisible disabilities. So it's really hard to gauge that unless you have a real open disclosure policy. And again, that comes to being an inclusive employer where your employees feel comfortable disclosing their experience. So that's a tricky one to gauge on the just visually.
Right. Yeah, I would kind of mirror that, I guess.
Thank you. Similar or related question as well, I think, to that here. Someone's asking if there's a list of inclusive employers by geographic location or region that happen to also be case members. I don't believe, Tanya, that there's currently an employer directory on our website that we kind of highlight yet or publicize, but that's a great idea.
Yeah, no, there isn't currently a registry, but within case we do recognize champion employers such as Dave, other employers that we work with in partner projects and stuff. So we do have a process of where we try to highlight them and then and then use them to also share their experiences within things like this, within webinars or at our case conference, stuff like that.
Thanks so much. I have another great question. I think Tanya and Dave, you may be able to share some insights as well on these. So I'll read both of these together because they kind of go hand in hand. So one is how might or what advice might you be able to provide to other organizations to help understand the impact of inclusive hiring? What are some advice would you give? As an employer, maybe.
For me, I guess, I think the impact is, for one, me personally, I think, and for our team, it is, it really helps us feel good in the community that we're really supporting the community and not just some of the community, we're supporting everyone. And I think, when it comes back to, the fact that you are doing that, I think puts your business in favorable light in the in the community as well. And again, we have the benefit of having a lot of different positions where we can fit people in and a lot of different shifts and hours. So a lot of the people we started were getting maybe 1 or 2 3-hour shifts a week, and maybe they're still getting that, or we've got some other ones that are, like I said, working full time. They got benefits program and all those things as well. So I'm not sure if that quite answered it, but.
No, thanks so much, Dave, for sharing. We have another question. So hi, an employment service provider here. How might you suggest that we can reach out to new employers and start creating new connections in our community for the individuals we support? Any tips there, Tanya or Dave?
I can answer. I think that's a great question. I've been at this for a little bit now working. I used to work as with clients and more as a service provider than employer engagement. And I think that the tides have finally turned and the market is, like I said in the very beginning, they're experiencing worker shortages. There is this need that perhaps didn't exist to fill positions. So I feel like we are in the perfect time when we have the opportunity to highlight this talented, qualified pool of individuals that thus far, 10 years ago, the positions just, we were all fighting for such few positions. So I think, pointing out to the employer the benefits that are almost obvious once you begin the journey. Like Dave, I just love that you rarely have to even post job postings. For most employers I hear from, a huge amount of their money goes into the recruitment, the attracting, the training process. So the fact that you've built this beautiful relationship with your community partners and then thus your community, it just goes to show that the proof is in the pudding. Most employers, once they start the journey, they realize the benefits of them themselves. So it's getting in the door. And I would also say, as a service provider, build relationships with the employers in your community prior to. It's so valuable for them to know you as a person and you to know them as a person prior to going in and asking for a placement or presenting a job seeker that's looking for work. So yeah, that's my advice, and keep at it.
I think for me, I think one of the biggest things I would say is when you're working with an employer, you have to make sure that it works for the employer. It can't be just, a hire that you say, hey, I've got somebody that has a job. And I know, again, working with HDCS, we really work hard to try and find the right fit. We've definitely had some people, again, in a grocery store, we've got a lot of people come through, a lot of people interaction, customers, staff. And I know we had one fellow working for us that was quite introverted, and we weren't the place for him. It wasn't the fit. And, we tried it and it didn't work. Right. But I think building that relationship. So if you're, you're the employment supporter, you want to make sure that you build that trust with the business owner. And, we have that in Humboldt here. I've got a total trust in my rep at HDCS. And I think that's the key. You got to make sure that it works for the business, because if it doesn't, it's not going to sustain. So
thanks so much, Dave and Tanya. Great tips there. I'll also provide a little plug. If as a service provider you're interested in learning more about marketing strategies and really building new connections and engagement strategies, we have a whole certificate program at CASE dedicated to learning more about that. It's called the Job Development Certificate Program. And so if you're interested in learning more, I'd be happy to share more details as well. You can contact us by emailing the info@supportedemployment.ca email. Thanks so much. Ooh, I have another really great question here. As a new human resource professional, what's important to keep in mind with inclusive recruitment?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Really, HR people, I feel for you. Yeah, but that's really what it is. There's going to be up, there's going to be down, there's going to be mistakes made. That's where the learning really happens. So I would say just recognize that it is a process. It's going to take time and ever evolving, ever changing. So don't expect too much too soon, and give yourself grace in the journey. And and also, again, with that, involving the entire team in the process. It's so important that the people on the ground have an understanding of how this benefits everybody.
Yeah, I would agree totally with you, Tanya. I think making sure that there's total team buy-in. I really feel like I've got 6 managers on staff, and I feel all of them are committed to moving forward with this. And yeah, I go slow, and you're going to have some problems, but I think making sure that you build that relationship with the employer, and I think it's really important that you know, when your client does go work at a business, that they are in a safe environment as well, and they feel welcomed, and you know, they have the necessary training and those kind of things that you know, maybe there's a little bit of adjustment on the job, but that they're willing to do that, and that they're willing to work with the client as well.
Thanks so much. Great tips there. Let's see. Ooh, Dave, you said earlier that you have a really great relationship with the service provider in your area. Just wondering, how did you establish that relationship in the first place? If you could share, how did you connect with them?
Well, I think it's probably like most business people. If you aren't really desperate for, you know, really struggling to hire, they end up coming to you. So the service provider came to us, and you know, again, it's a small community. I know her, I know her husband, I know her family and stuff, but it's a very slow process. You start out, you build that trust, right? And like I said, we've been working together over 10 years, so you know, almost to the point where we can finish each other's sentences sometimes when we're working, and we work together with the clients. You know, and it's not always perfect. Sometimes we have to make different accommodations here or there, but yeah, it's just really building that trust, and it takes time, like any relationship.
Thank you so much, Dave. Another great question. Jennifer is asking, are you aware of any new research data on the return on investment for employers hiring persons experiencing disability?
I haven't seen anything. I'm not sure. Tanya?
No, I am not aware either, but that's a wonderful question.
I can certainly add just a one that I'm aware of. It's an individual. His name is Rich Donovan, and he tracks to the nth degree data from employers that are actively practicing inclusive recruitment. They look at their stocks and shares and compare them to those that are not as inclusive or diverse. So again, that's Rich Donovan. I'll share their name there in the chat box for you.
And I guess for us as well, I think, how do you track it? I spend a fair bit of time on the sales floor, and you know, the comments I'm getting from customers, positive feedback. We get some feedback into our Facebook message as well. We've received stuff there. So to me, it's just, when you have that connection with the community, you hear it firsthand as well.
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much. Let's see what else is here. Have you ever, Dave, had somebody request an accommodation during the recruitment process, and just wondering if you can share any insights on that experience, if you did, how you might have been able to meet that request?
I'm just trying to think of any specific instance. I would say we do lots of times. Actually, the young lady that I have that we had hired that's working in the bakery, the bakery is not a quiet place. It's very active. She spends a lot of time on the bread slicer as well, which is noisy. We've got fluorescent lights. So one of the accommodations we did with her is that she does wear sometimes just one earbud. And so she can still hear what's going on around her, but she plays some calming music, and it really helps her to kind of settle in the department. So that'd be, one of the things we've done. But, if you're willing to try, it's, especially like I said, in our business, there's lots of things, lots of different positions and stuff. And if you're willing to try and accommodate, it's not usually that difficult.
Thanks so much, Dave. What a great example there of, what in terms of the breadth of accommodations and what they could look like in a workplace. Another question. What do either of you think might be the biggest barrier for an employer or an organization to consider when it comes to developing inclusive hiring practices for individuals experiencing disability?
To me, I think sometimes it's just to actually start. I think so many businesses think that it's so much more work, that you're going to have to make so many accommodations, and that it won't be good for your business. It won't be profitable. The employee you'll be accommodating, and they won't be as good as the other employees. And I think, just like all of the other employees I have, we've got strong ones, and we've got some other ones that, we have to work with and do other type of accommodations as well. So I think, to me, that's probably the biggest thing, is to just get started with it. And if you earnestly want to do it, it is not that hard. If that's something that you commit to, and again, with the managers we have, we've been doing this a while, so it's not like they all just jumped up and said, yes, let's do this. It's not like we haven't had to have some conversations and work through some things, but I really believe that they're all committed to it. One of the things, actually, we just finished an employee survey. Now, it doesn't entirely deal with inclusive hiring and that, but I would say, compared to our peers, our employee satisfaction, I think, is higher. Now, again, I maybe going outside the realm to say it's totally due to that, but I think that does have part of it, because I think all the staff feel good about the accommodations and the inclusive practices we have.
Thanks so much, Dave. Tanya, anything else you want to add there? I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I think Dave nailed it. I was just going to say, it's very similar. The fear of the unknown. I think it keeps us stuck. And just to point out again, the link Ashley shared to CASE's HR Toolkit. It's a wonderful place to start, or if you're in the middle, or wherever you are on the journey, there's something within the toolkit for everyone.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, I think that leads us towards the end of our time together today. I would really like to sincerely thank Tanya and Dave once again for joining us for this wonderful webinar. I learned lots today just from hearing both of you present, so that was lovely, and I'm sure lots of others today did as well. I'd also like to thank all of our tech support today, Lucas, as well as our ASL interpreters, Liz and Tyler, and Sylvia, for providing our English closed captioning. So as I mentioned at the beginning of today's session, this webinar is recorded, and we will send out a recording to all attendees once that has been finalized. So please stay tuned for the recording. And with that, I will conclude the webinar for today. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.